All right, we are live. Welcome, everybody. Let me see who is in here. Gil's in here twice. I saw somebody I thought earlier, but now I can't see it. That's
I
weird.
haven't seen anybody else in there.
Oh, maybe it
I,
was you that said first. Oh, yeah, it was you that said first.
yeah,
Well, there's
yeah.
four in here. They just haven't made comments so I could see who it is. So, welcome, everybody. I have a special guest today. It is Peggy Suzin from North American Dark Skies, Michigan Aurora Hunters. And she is going to explain to us a little bit about how Aurora Borealis works. She is a photographer by trade and she takes a lot of fabulous pictures. In fact, the thumbnail for this video was one of her pictures that she took up in the Traverse City, Michigan area. And she does classes here in Michigan. Where are you doing your classes that are coming up, Peg?
They are going to be at the Wellness Center, and I will have to get a link for you from
Okay.
her. They will be down in the Wellness Center in Grand Rapids. And
Okay.
if you go to North American Dark Skies, Michigan Aurora Hunters, Wisconsin Aurora Hunters, all of them will have links to that.
Okay.
And we're limited on space. We only have the ability to do 40 on that weekend. So
Okay.
that's one day or the other. And it's going to be one of those, we have 6 hours of class time where we talk about the sun, how the energy travels through the sun, how corona holes and sunspots are made, and how they migrate back and forth through the cycles. And then we're going to talk about how the CMEs and the flares and the geometric storms affect the Earth. Then we're going to talk about how to read all the different data from all the different websites and apps you have. And then we will flip to photography. We're going to talk about cameras. We're going to talk about mirrorless versus DLSR. And we're going to talk about crop sensors versus full frame. And I'm going to put a pitch in here. If you're looking for a new camera and you want to do night photography, go over to North American Dark Skies, message me. I will help you find something. Do not buy a crop sensor camera out of Walmart, Costco's, or something like that because you really want a full frame camera. And you can get them used under $1,000.
Okay. We have 10 people in here now. Hi, Lewis. Hi, Tiny Tim Posey. Welcome. So
then
Peggy.
as we do the class, we're going to do our manual settings, and we're going to do a night workshop. And I'm there till the last man goes home. If it happens to be dawn, it happens to be dawn. And we're going to do a hands-on seminar.
Okay.
Where I help.
You're going to go out and take some night photography then with the
we're going to travel over to the lake shore, find a good area in a park, and we're going to set up and just try and take some night shots, weather's allowing. Mm-hmm. If it happens to be lightning, you'll get to learn how to do lightning.
That would be fabulous. Your lightning shots are absolutely beautiful. I wish I could pull them up with my phone.
Well, everybody can go to Flickr, and that's Flickr with an R, not an ER.com. And they can just look up my name, Peggy Suzin, and all my portfolio is there.
Okay.
And so all my Aurora shots are there. All my lightning shots are there. And the lightning, you want to pay close attention because the spirits dance. And you can see the spirits in the photos.
We've got a few more people in the chat now. Hi, welcome to Homestead where you are. Thanks for coming in. So just want to kind of say hi to people as they come through. So Peggy, start out telling us a little bit about what is the Aurora Borealis.
Okay. First, let's start out with a little bit of me so people get to know a little bit of me. I am what is called a citizen scientist. I started out as a photographer and I tripped into doing lightning and I had to find all about weather. And then somebody said, go out and try this Aurora. And I did that. And I went, oh, well, I need to learn about this. And shout out to Ben at Suspicious Observers because I learned a lot from him, and we went deep dived into that. And I started a group called Michigan Aurora Hunter, thinking I was going to connect a few local photographers, be able to have friends to go out with, because you shouldn't travel alone at night. You should travel in groups. And it kind of ran over me. It was they joined up, and literally we had at one point over 4,000 people in our group, and they were demanding more and more and more and more. So it forced me to deep dive into the science of everything. And so that's how I came to do what I do. And it was just a path that God said, here's you go. This is where you're going. And I fell into it. So Aurora Borealis, it is a reaction between molecules up in our atmosphere, but it really starts on our sun. And so I would like to give us a little time to get a few more people in here. We haven't got very many, and I want to give just a few more minutes here. But you asked me a question earlier today about what causes the brown mountain lights in the pile of
Falling light.
Okay, I found an answer for you. It is called a inversion. Okay, so the sun comes down and it heats our earth, and then the air heats from the earth side of things, and that's the normal way it happens. But once in a while, under the right conditions, warm air goes over the top of cold air, and it traps the cold air and the smog and the fog and all of that dense air down underneath an area of warm air. And it typically happens in front of warm fronts where there's an ocean upwelling, like along the California coast. It happens with fog, and it can happen around mountain ranges. And when it hits, and it can be undone when it hits a mountain range and suddenly inverts back the other way. So what is happening? Oh, did I lose you?
No, we're here.
Where?
Oh, I got to go back here. Okay. So what happens is basically that cold air is trapping things, and it's making the light more direct. And so you can see for miles because that light doesn't spread and it doesn't bend. It's very direct. So like if the sun is setting on a normal layer, the sun looks kind of oval, right? But when it's trapped in an inversion, the sunset will look like it's a round ball just above the horizon. So
Okay.
it's an optical illusion because of weather.
I'm going to interrupt for a second. Tiny Tim, you're not being blocked. I just have the chat slowed down because I'm on my phone, and I know I wouldn't be able to keep up with it if I didn't slow it down a little bit. So there's 60 seconds between being able to post. You're fine. It's just me today. I couldn't keep up, and I knew I wouldn't be able to see on my phone if it went too fast. So it's not you, it's me. And I just want to also welcome Ren's Homestead and Ginger Ninja. Thank you.
Hey, Ginger.
All right. We have a few more people.
One quick, Peggy, before you go on. So you have a YouTube channel, correct?
Yes, it's North American Dark Skies.
And it's got a circle around the United States. Top part of the circle is purple, bottom is green.
Yep.
Give me a second. I'm going to throw the link up.
Thanks, Gil. She hasn't got a lot of content yet. Somebody's been nagging her to start making some content.
Well, the story behind that is I had a hip replacement in November, and I was limping around all year on a very bad hip before that. And then I got COVID right out of the hospital. And then I went into complex regional pain syndrome, and my foot was on fire. And then went into pneumonia, and it's been one thing after another. So I'm just getting back on my feet, hopefully.
All right. So there's the link to both Suspicious Observers and North American Dark Skies YouTube channels.
Yes, and if you're in the Michigan area, I'm up in Traverse City, Michigan. We have a wonderful group of people up here that we meet people. There's a couple of different groups other than me that have meetups up in this area. I will be down in Grand Rapids June 4th and June 5th for a class. I am looking for other class locations, so if you want me to have an Aurora class near you, contact me on Facebook. Say, hey, let's see what we can do. I'm happy to travel and I'm happy to do classes wherever. Hoping to do Wisconsin in August. So, where to start? Aurora Borealis is basically radiated particles coming in and hitting oxygen or nitrogen at different levels of the atmosphere to create and I gotta put my hands down. Sorry, I talk with my hands all the time.
That's okay.
So I have, depending on the level of the atmosphere it's hitting those molecules, depends on the color of aurora you see. Typically, green and purple, yellows and oranges are very normal.
Why don't we get blue and red?
Blue and red they have to hit the upper atmosphere. There has to be oxygen and nitrogen high up in our atmosphere to cause those colors. Okay. And typically you only see them in big storms. Now, I was doing some storms. Tammy said this is kind of the science crowd, the I want to know why. So I was doing research for my classes and I did some deep diving on the why aspects, and I wanted to touch on some of the biggest solar storms we have. And everybody has heard about the Carrington event. Happened in August 28th to September 2nd of 1859. And it is named after Richard Carrington, who was the only one to discover that there was a sunspot there and a solar flare. It is what was called a super flare. It is a CME, which means a coronal mass ejection. It means a massive amount of plasma ejected off the surface of the sun. And it triggered a geomagnetic storm. It supercharged our upper atmosphere. Electrical wires like telegraphs, which was about the only thing in existence at the time, was sparking. Some the telegraph offices burnt down. Some telegraph officers were able to use their telegraphs without plugging them into a battery, and some of them were able to, actually got shocked, and some of them were injured. Now, what was unique about that one, it was so large that it was seen as far south as the Caribbean. And it was red. And all the big storms, you will find they wake up in the middle of the night and they think the sky is on fire because there's that much red. So it is something that happens. It's just really rare. Now, we have classifications of storms. So it goes like B class, C class, M class, X class. And every time you jump a number, like X10 is big, X20 is 10 times bigger than X10. So every time you jump a number, it's timesing it by 10. They estimate that the Carrington event was an X40 to 50 class. So it was massive. Mm-hmm. I heard someone say in the estimates that it would cost trillions and trillions of dollars if we were to have one this large.
Yeah.
With our current infrastructure.
May I chime in on something on that?
Yeah.
Add to some information. Because of it lasted so long. A lot of preppers out there think, oh, we had the flash. Okay, now I can open up my Faraday bag or my cage, whatever, and get all my electronics out. And as soon as they pull it out, those are going to get fried because this went on for days.
Big solar storms typically go a week.
Yeah, and the other thing is that there were miners from California to West Virginia that woke up in the middle of the night thinking it was morning to go, and were getting ready to go to work.
Mm-hmm. Farmers
was
went
that-
out to farm their fields in the middle of the night because they thought it was daylight. And I have seen storms that are so bright it's almost like standing out in daylight. Okay, the next storm, our next biggest, was in 1582. Unfortunately, back then they didn't have scientific data. They didn't know how to rate everything. And so the only way they had to go back and classify the storm was to go back combing through the historical records. And in East Asia, the scientists have discovered that the observers as far south as a latitude of 28. So I'm at 45. That is almost down to Florida. It's huge. Today, scientists believe that they saw red auroras. Again, they thought the sky was on fire. They thought cities were on fire because of the way it was flickering. Scientists believe that the red aurora may have been caused by a series of CMEs. And they were between the minus 180 and 190 NT range. So they didn't have wires. They didn't have any disruptions back then. So human life went on as normal. Now, in May of 1921, we had a great geomagnetic storm. At the time, it was one of the strongest storms on record. And it caused the Broadway lights to dim. It set things on fire, and it was known as the railway solar storm because New York Central Station went out of service. It was at the height of the Cold War. The solar storm, this one very nearly changed history because they thought that Russia was blocking our radar and our radio transmissions, and they almost set off the nuclear bombs until someone monitoring the solar storms called them and said, "Hey, this is just a geomagnetic storm."
Oops.
Yeah, oops. We nearly bombed Russia on that one.
Good thing the guy with the red button wasn't button happy then.
Yeah, definitely. Good thing we have somebody safety for call.
I had to mute myself. You kept saying fire, and the fire trucks were going by over here. That's why I was so distracted. I'm like, where's the sirens and the fire trucks? So,
okay, the next storm was in August of 1972. It was an X-class 20, and it affected the space regions near the sun and moon. Now, the interesting thing about this is this one interrupted TV signals, but it detonated U.S. mines during the Vietnam War.
Oops.
So it was so strong that it was setting off bombs, the mines that they were leaving out in the fields. It also was very lucky that the Apollo astronauts were on the ground because it takes 300 REMs to be toxic of radiation. If they had been in space, they would have gotten over 50 REM. And they would have had solar radiation sickness coming down.
Ooh.
So we were very lucky. They were on the ground. They were protected. But that was a wake-up call for our science program and for our military. Okay, in March 1989, this geomagnetic storm was really unique. It happened in March. It could be seen as far south as Texas and Florida. And it created underground currents across much of North America, and Quebec, Canada lost power, and some parts of Canada was without power for 3 days while they went and replaced all the electrical parts. And here I'm going to drop in something. Where you live has an effect on how strong a geomagnetic storm conditions can affect you. So if I'm sitting over in Florida, which is a lot of limestone, I'm not going to be too worried because all the radiation will sink through the limestone. And it's not going to affect Earth as much because it's sinking down into our Earth's crust. But along the East Coast and along the Appalachian Trail in that area, we have really, really dense rock that radiated particles can't go through. So when it hits, it gets reflected back up and it increases the storm level of what's there. So that is always something to think about if you're living in an area, along those really dense rock formations. Do I need to know? I mean, iron's going to reflect. And if I'm living over iron, my storm, the results of the storm is going to be greater on the power grids and stuff.
It's sort of like being out and on the snow. You get a sunburn from up above, you get a sunburn under your eyelids from down below.
Yeah.
Yes, they do. Okay, so April 2001 was a massive solar flare. It hurled plasma out at 7.2 million kilometers per hour. It reached Earth in 14 hours. It was an X-class flare ranking X29, and it wasn't Earth-directed, which was really good because it would have, at this point in 2001, it would have begun to affect more of our Earth structures. Okay, the next storm is called the Halloween storm. It is done in October 28th through the following week to 2003, and it was an X28. The flare was estimated to have been possibly an X45 and one of most largest flares on record since the Carrington event. And there was power outages, there was problems. It did affect infrastructure. Superstorm of July 2012. It was a powerful CME thought to be a Carrington class storm. The eruption occurred just 1 week from earlier. The Earth would have been in the line of fire. So this was one of the ones that we went, oh, thank God it went past us by a few days because it was big. And September 2017, we had another one. It was September 6th. It was an X9.3 solar flare erupted from the sun. Was the largest of two cycle 24. So cycle 24 of our 11th year cycle wasn't very big. We're kind of going down a hill, and there's some, Tammy can't get the graphics up. We'll have to do this another time when I can get graphics up for you. Maybe I'll do it on my channel. But our solar cycles can peak and ebb and flow. So we can get a big one, and then we can get a little one, and we get a couple little ones, and then we get a big one. This was predicted, this cycle 25, not to be very much. And it's already surpassed every prediction they had.
So that was the third fire truck.
Must be a good fire.
They called out the whole fleet now. Welcome, Garden State Gardener. Hi, Joe. Thanks for coming in. We're talking about auroras and solar flares and how the sun's activity affects Earth.
Now, an interesting, let's get into some of the things these large storms can affect. They don't just affect, hey, we get auroras. Solar storms can cause earthquake activity. And usually after big storms, you'll notice there's earthquakes that follow. And after really big storms, there's a history of having really big volcanoes go off. When we have storms in progress, solar storms can amplify the storms. Like if we have a hurricane, it can amplify that hurricane and make it bigger. If we have lightning going on, it can amplify that lightning. In fact, I'd have to go back and find it, but there was just an article a couple weeks ago about how they're finding more positive lightning going on with this cycle because it's so strong. Positive lightning comes up from the ground rather than down from the cloud.
Ah, okay.
So
did
we're
not know
having
that.
a lot of propagation of positive lightning coming up. And I'm going to put a shout out here to Hank Pecos. You got to go check out his channel because he has something really rare as a photographer. He has green sprites.
I've heard of those.
Oh, he has some fabulous green sprites. I think he even has a red dwarf too.
Okay, what's his channel?
Hank Pecos on YouTube.
HANK
Yep, just Pecos.
PACOS.
I think so.
PEC. Yeah, PEC. Hank Pecos.
You'll find it. He's a storm chaser and he does lightning. And he does some of the most.
Twist here. Okay,
That's
looks
my
like
bucket list. I want to go. I want to go out with Hank one night and have fun.
Okay, let's see. He's got a bunch of lightning there. Some tornado as his welcoming video.
Yep, that would be him. He does some fantastic footage, and he has red sprites, which is something. It's like lightning version of connecting with the solar storms of the solar particles, because they're catching that the nitrogen and oxygen up there and creating an electrical charge too, which creates, when you get a solanated particle, it's usually helium. I think it's helium. And it comes down and it hits our oxygen and nitrogen, and that is what creates the light proton that creates the auroras or lightning.
Hi, LP. Thanks for coming in.
So he's really fabulous. Got to go see his stuff. Bar none, one of the best photographers I know. But back to our thing, there's lots of other things that auroras can affect, and they're just starting to discover the physical aspects of what solar storms do to us.
I know that lightning affects the amount of morel mushrooms I find in pigs.
Yeah, that's
because without a good lightning storm, morel mushrooms don't come out very well. Doesn't matter how nice and warm and the rain is. If you get a good lightning storm, you'll get more morel mushrooms.
Well, the physical aspects of a geomagnetic storm is people that have fibromyalgia. Mm-hmm. It's going to affect the front of your brain, and it's going to create more melatonin. It's going to make you sleepier. With people that have chronic pain syndromes, it puts you in pain. And the only thing that I found that works is I get out of the house, as far away from electrical house wires and all that crap, and then I can handle it. Otherwise, I get a massive headache. This is why I'm so good at predicting. A lot of guys will go, "Oh, we got some auroras coming." I'm like, "No, we don't have auroras coming. I haven't got the headache yet." I don't feel like I have to crawl yet. We're not there yet. But it creates.
Yeah. Oh, I know.
On your body. People with depression issues like bipolar, it will affect their processing power. It affects the way your brain works. You'll get like that fibro fog, or your kind of a dazed, confused state.
Mm-hmm. Yep.
It can affect hearts. Your heart is an electromagnetic
machine. Your heart is a machine.
And when you get massive solar storms, you're going to have it affect your heart. Mm-hmm. So if you know there is a massive solar storm coming, you'll want to be close to a hospital if you have a heart condition, because it's going to affect it.
Yep.
So these are it's not just one thing, it's a lot of things it affects.
Yeah. And what's interesting is that I've listening to Ben Davidson over there on Suspicious Observers. They're expecting an uptick in aurora activity because of the weakening of the geomagnetic sphere.
Geosphere.
What that is, and I had a slide for this, and I wish I could share it. Tammy, don't worry about it. We'll get it out. I'll post. I'll make a video on it. Yes, we are. There is what's called our Earth is having a magnetic pole reversal. That means our magnetic poles are bending together They're going to cross each other and go out the other side. And as we do that, we're losing part of that magnetic protection. And what scientists are worried about is this solar cycle has started out, it's way above what's predicted, way above the curve, all the predictions of what they thought. And when we have such a weakened magnetic field, these storms could become more hazardous to our electrical grid, to our satellites, to our airplanes, to our GPS systems, and to human health, because we're taking on more. Every day we're getting bombarded with solar particles and cosmic particles from space. And as that magnetic shield weakens, we're going to get more of that. And it's going to cause disease. It's going to cause things like cancer. And that's one of the things the scientists are concerned about. But the good news is it's moving so fast. They thought it'd take hundreds of years, and it's moving much, much faster. I honestly kind of expect it's going to be on the flip side before 2050. And I'm just taking a guess here, just based on everything I know that I can't say from other sources. I think we're going to be on the backside of it. They'll have crossed before 2050. And that's just my guess, because this is moving way too fast. Let's hope that it hits, the solar storm weakens out, or our cycle this time weakens out before and peters out before we hit that really weak spot in our solar magnetic. They're also predicting we're supposed to be hitting a solar grand minimum. And a solar grand minimum is when the sun goes to sleep. There's no sunspots. And the last time, one happened in 1675 into the early 1700s. And if you look back at the art and the literature of the time in England, that's when you have all the art with the snow-covered scenes, with the skaters skating and happy ponds, and it's always cold. Well, during that period, we were in a solar grand minimum. The sun went to sleep. And it changed our weather patterns, and it became very, very cold. And there was years that they didn't have any growing seasons. They didn't have, famine was a problem. Other issues came into play. Wars came into play because people were hungry and fighting over land. So they're predicting we have one coming. They thought this cycle would be it, but now we don't know. It could happen at any time. But when our oscillations to our oceans, our jet streams, all of it is very tied to our solar weather. So when we go into these minimums where we don't have activity, it really changes the jet stream. It changes the oscillations of the oceans, and it's going to change countries. One country could go into a desert and another country could come out of a desert. It's just that extreme. And we've seen in the last few years a lot of very extreme weather with, California being so dry. Now that's partially self-made problem because they overpopulated the region and they deforested too much. And so that's kind of a self-made problem out there, but some of it's not. Some of it is weather changes that we've been having. Does anybody have any questions? You want to say, hey, Josh? Anybody have any questions so far that they want to ask?
Come on, side chat. Fire up the questions.
I know. I'm throwing a lot at you.
Well, while waiting for some questions, a couple points I'd like to point out is we were talking about the Carrington event, some of the other CME storms that cause the electromagnetic pulses and stuff. All currently, and this is one of the bad parts, currently all of the big transformers are no longer made in the United States. They're made overseas.
Yeah.
There is I think it's like a 6-year back order process. People are putting orders for what they think they're going to need 6 years from now. They know what the projects they're putting in, but it takes that long to build them. If we lose a bunch of transformers, we don't have any spares just to plug in.
I'm going to say one thing you want to do. I heard somebody saying probably smaller devices will not be affected as bad. So being able to put small solar batteries, small generators and stuff into a Faraday cage may save your life.
Yeah.
One
of the things
finding an old army Jeep, like Vietnam age Jeep.
Actually, anything prior to 65, any vehicle before they started adding electronics to it is good. The only things you need to do is make sure you have spare for the inside the rotor cap, the condenser, the coil, all that stuff, the coil, and the solenoid for the starter.
Yep.
The biggest problem that most people don't realize when it comes to EMPs and solar storms and everything is that the big thing that does damage is how long the wire is. The telegraph wires generated the power because they were miles and miles long, and that's what generated the electrical charge to get to the telegraph offices. And it was really, and I froze. If it was really long distances, the charge was enough to catch some of them on fire. Whereas others, it was just powerful enough for them to operate without connected to the battery.
Yeah.
But when you look at it like your automobile, you have the wiring harness in your automobile, and then from the tail lights back up towards the front where the battery is, and between where it goes from the ignition switch and stuff through the firewall at the change at the fuse panel and stuff. A lot of the computer stuff is on the inside of it. So that's if it's a strong enough one, that's how those cars would be affected in modern cars. But as far as like in your house, you can't, if your house breaker, if you're able to hear about it, it's coming, and you turn off the breaker to your house, you still need to disconnect things in your house because all the wiring in your house is connected at the main breaker. So if you got,
I got one more point back to the cars. It's great to have an old Jeep and have the spare parts, but where are you going to take it? Because all those cars that broke down are still on the roads, and you can't ride on the roads. So you better have something that can go. You better have something that can go off-roading because you're where are you going?
Yeah.
You aren't going to get very
far.
Most
of us, it's just having a way to get away from where we're at.
Again,
frequency protection.
For me, I'm going in a motorhome. So one of the things I'm going to be looking for is one of those old Jeeps that I can flat tow, because I want, if I get hit and I'm somewhere way out in the middle of a park, I'm going to want to be able to get back to civilization, at least to get some sort of food, because I won't have much in the motorhome. I can't prep. I can't carry stuff like I can at home. So for me, it's an issue. Yeah. I actually have talked to Tiffin, and I posed a question that goes, what happens if it's a solar storm? And I'm trying to get them to think about creating some protections there and how they're laminating the motorhomes that might create a Faraday box and offer a little more protection so that motorhomes don't burn.
Yeah.
Tuber Chat, thank you so much for coming in.
Yeah. Ginger has a question here, and her question is, do you think that the EMP or frequency protection jewelry and clothing is effective at blocking harmful frequencies? I'm very opinionated on this one. You go ahead first.
Well, I'm going to lean on the side of really. Sheets might offer some protection when your head is on them, if you're sleeping on them in a confined room, because you're inside the house and you're just blocking more of the electromagnetic energy coming from your TV and from your cell phone and your yada yada yada.
And the electrical meter at the outside your bed. Make sure you know where your electrical meter is. Don't put it outside your bedroom where you spend a lot of your time sleeping. Make sure it is away from your main living area.
I don't think anything is going to be much protection against a major solar storm.
Yeah. And even, when I think about the blocking harmful frequencies, being a ham radio operator, I know a bit more about how frequencies work. Frequencies work, and people talk about, I got this protection jewelry band here. It's going to protect me from things. No,
only this much of you.
Only that much of you that it's covering, because it doesn't. It's not like Star Trek where it generates a shield around you. Now, if it had that much power, it'd be bad for you because it'd be causing other problems.
It'd be causing one of those bad frequencies.
Yeah, exactly. But as far as like clothing that is supposed to protect you, that means it's got to have material in the clothing, such as either microfiber wires or
I've seen the copper wires.
Yeah.
Like some of there's some pads for your bed that you can sleep on that actually have, it's either negative or positive ion something in them. Those might be effective for short term small things like don't sleep with your cell phone next to your head.
Don't sleep with the TV in your room. If you have an electric heater in your room, all of that creates electromagnetic pulses. So if you're wanting to protect yourself from that kind of stuff, get that stuff out of your living space.
Yeah.
At least your sleeping space.
Yeah, at least
hi, Grace and Fire.
Huh?
I said hi to someone that came in. Hi, Grace and Fire. She came in.
I'm
trying to make sure I say hi as people come in.
One of the things about the clothing, you got to realize that even if it had enough wire metal in it to protect you, it's only protecting the areas that it's covering.
Yeah.
So if you have it in the hat, it's going to protect my head. If it's not, I'm going to go, my head's going to fry. So as far as a lot of these things, and some other things that say they're EMP protection stuff, a lot of them are gimmicks. A lot of them have been disproven, and some of them say, I'm listed in the Homeland Security thing on the sustainability against EMPs. Yeah, they're listed under the section called the addendum called not recommended. Everyone that says that I've seen their things saying we're listed in there. It's like, you're under not recommended.
Yes, Ginger Ninja, tin hats are no longer effective. You now need lead shielding.
Please
make
go
sure
out
the lead is between you and what's coming at you, not behind you and reflecting it so it goes through you, hits the lead and comes back through you again. You don't want to get it twice from your shield.
They're also
the Wizard of Oz.
Stand outside in a lightning storm.
The Wizard of Oz, the Tin Man's makeup. Originally, Buddy Ebsen was supposed to play the Tin Man, but the aluminum compound in the makeup he was allergic to.
Yeah.
And so Ray was it Ray Bolger?
Ray Bolger.
Ray Bolger got that thing. So what you need, if you're going to be putting on, you want to be covered, you get something like your SPF 2000 with the copper flakes in it and the lead lights saying
stay away from the tin. Hey, Diggs, Peggy answered the question earlier about your light you were talking about last night because I was asking her what she thought of it.
Hang on, I got this.
She answered the one about the Pauling light, and I think it might be the same for your Brown Mountain light.
Let me cover that again real quick. To answer your question, I am from Traverse City, Michigan. I live about 20 minutes outside Sleeping Bear National Park. So if you get up here and you want to say, hey, Peggy, I need a tour guide, it's $75 a night. And I will take you to fantastical places.
And teach you how to take photography at night.
And you get to go out at night and take pictures, and you get to talk to critters.
And if you talk real nice to her, she might have an extra camera you can use.
Actually, I'm down to one camera right now until after camera classes. To answer, go back, and I'm going to recover this real quickly. The brown lights and the Pauling lights are due to what's called an inversion in weather. So normally the sun comes down, heats the air or the earth, it warms the air above it, and it gets colder as it goes up into the atmosphere. An inversion happens when warm air goes over cold air, and it traps smog, fog, and it makes the air really, really dense. So it narrows. I want you to think of it like a prism. You know, if you have a prism and you shoot light through it, it bends it and spreads it out. Well, when you're in a super dense thing, it narrows it down and makes it really focused. So it doesn't allow it to warp like it would on the horizon. But most of them are finding that this inversion keeps those passing cars and signs and different things that are reflective out in the distance narrowed down to a very focused beam of light. And that is what causes those. And it can, and it's very typical to invert between mountains.
Joe is asking if you are near Grenville, but I think he might mean Greenville. I don't know of a Grenville.
Grenville. Are you talking down by Grand Rapids, Garden State? They're down by Grand Rapids and Greenville?
Yeah, she teaches classes down by there.
I have a class coming up there June 4th and 5th. And you can check my page on North American Dark Skies, and you should be able to get into that class. It's $115, and we're going to cover all about basic aurora hunting. Every little nook and cranny. And it's one of those, we have 6 hours of class time, and then we're going to go out and I'm going to do hands-on with people, and I'm out there till the last man decides to go home. If that's dawn, it's dawn. And yes, I can sleep with only 3 hours sleep and function. I do that frequently doing aurora storms. So that makes, and there are some other things that, you know, if you're, the inversion can pick up light from anywhere. So anything reflective, a sign. In Pauling, they say there's a sign. There's a street sign there that causes the lights because it reflects the light, and then it causes that ball to float in the air.
Except the Pauling light has been there longer than streets. I think.
Well, it could be a house light. You know, it could be somebody sitting outside with a lantern. It's all an optical illusion because of the bend of the earth and the inversion of the air.
It's a pretty regular optical illusion happening.
Yeah, it is. But they've done the scientific test, and that's what they found is the area. Yes, you do need to get your camera out. Those of you that make it up to Traverse City, like I said, you can rent me for the evening and tour guide. Whether we have auroras or not, I can show you some pretty cool places. Bonus if we get lightning.
Peggy is an absolutely fabulous lightning photographer, as well as auroras.
My passion is lightning. My first passion is lightning. And for me, it's a very spiritual thing. I'm out there communicating with the grandfather thunders, and they quite often come into my space, and they show up in the films, and they're there to remind people to pay attention to those around you, whether they have passed or not. I have one, and it's my coolest shot ever. I was out shooting in Sleeping Bear National Park right by the dune climb. There's a pond, and I often go there and sit, and I can get fish jumping in the moonlight and fun things like that. And I was chasing a thunderstorm, and the little pocket storm, not even a mile wide, came up over the dunes. And at the very end, the cloud formed a bear head directly over Mother Bear Dune. And and that's what the park is named for, is the story of Mother Bear. And the story goes that the mother bear and her cubs were trapped by a fire in Wisconsin, and they had to take to the water and try and swim to safety. And so they swam across Lake Michigan, and it was cold and it was stormy and it was not good conditions. Lake Michigan's cold on the best of days, but stormy weather's worse.
That's pretty warm compared to other Great Lakes. It's warm, but
no, it's actually the coldest lake.
No, it's not. Lake Superior is the coldest.
Well, anyway, so Mother Bear gets
They're
to the
both
shore.
cold. I can't go in either one of them.
I'll go in Lake Michigan, but I won't put my toes in Lake Superior.
Well, anyway, Mother Bear gets to the shores and she turns around and her cubs are missing. And she sits there and she mourns on the shores. And the creator is so touched by her grief that he puts her to sleep and he covers her with sand. And her 2 cubs that drowned, he rose them up to be North and South Manitou Island, which creates a protected passageway at Glen Haven of the Manitou Passageway. And that's where a lot of ships go for protection behind North and South Manitou Islands. But it was neat because I got that picture and Mother Bear is still there.
Welcome, Northeast Dronalist. Thank you so much for coming in. We're kind of touching on your subject. He does, or they do, beautiful drone photography. Absolutely fabulous.
I need you to contact me in North American Dark Skies because sooner or later I'm going to get a drone and need to learn how to use it. That's on my wish list.
It's on your. Well, you should go see some of the things they've done because they have some absolutely fabulous photography too.
Well, I might have him go out and do some photography for me. Where is he at?
I don't know. His pictures are from all over.
Well, I might be having work. I might be able to, when we get making money, I might have him to do some stuff for me because I want to do travel videos and we're going to need drone footage of some of them.
Bye, Joe. Thank you so much for coming in. We'll have to talk later about Greenville offline.
Okay.
Gotcha.
And contact me on Facebook. Okay. Now, where were we? Kind of got lost in the rabbit hole.
Sorry, I wanted you to talk about that as another thing about what those lights could be because it took my interest last night. I was listening to his channel and doing some sewing, so I was just sitting there doing some mending.
Well, with photography, a lot of things are an optical illusion, and we don't think of it until we're going, well, why is that way? What was it, this year or last year? We had that huge sandstorm where the sand blew from Africa and turned the sunsets bright orange. That is because the sand was acting like a crystal and it was separating and bending the light. And when we separate the light colors, red is the most prevalent color we see. And so when we get sand, high humidity, those all can separate the colors coming through our atmosphere.
Like a prism.
Yes, like a prism. You get that rainbow, the rainbow of each individual color. And it's something we don't think about. But that's why we get really orange sunsets sometimes, because we have high humidity. It's why some sunrises are really, red. And they say red in the morning, sailor take warning. It's because there's high humidity, and the chances are, as it heats, it's going to cause storms.
Any dronalist says his name is Barry. He's from Massachusetts, and his wife and he go to beautiful locations all around the world and capture them by sky. He has some absolute wonderful videos.
Barry, you contact me on Facebook under North American. I will give you my personal number. I have a project you might be interested in.
I'm trying to get him to go up to Kitchigippy and do the spring. I think that'd be cool to see. I've seen some aerial photography of it, but I've never seen a drone footage if they're allowed, because it's a state park, so I don't know.
Well, some parks you can fly them, some parks you can't.
Yeah.
Federal parks you cannot fly drones.
Yeah, it's a state. It was donated to the state by and it's
Jazzy
Palms, and it was donated to the state by Mr. Palms. He was a lumberman, but when he came up there, it was too beautiful to lumber this area, and he preserved it, and then he donated to the state for all of us. And I'm very grateful that he recognized the absolute pristine beauty that park has, and it is my all-time. I've been all over the United States, Bermuda, France, Brussels, Belgium, and it is the most beautiful place I've ever been in the world.
Okay, I'm going to tell you how he might be able to get away with getting drone footage there. And that is to ask the state of Michigan for special permission and to say, I'll do it for free. And you can have copies of the footage for pure Michigan ads.
Yeah.
That would be
Haven. Hey, welcome. Thanks for coming in. Yes, the gods are smiling at me. It is about 70 degrees right now, which is amazing because it was 32 last night at 7 o'clock last night. And I had to take all my jackets off, and I have my car windows open. I'm here in my office. Oh, that's bad. I'm here in my office right now. I may have to hang something other way. There we go. But yes, I'm here in my little office. I had to come to town. My son has some activities. I had talked to Peggy about doing this. It's a busy weekend, but we still wanted to do it. So here we are.
And I could do a live chat on our
related.
Once I figure out how to do it, a couple weeks from now, I could do live chats on North American Dark Skies if we want to do that. Kind of weird.
Cool people on the couch. Thank you so much for coming in. I miss you guys. I've got to catch up. I haven't seen everything you've done lately. I'm behind on my viewing.
Just to update the people coming in. I run North American Dark Skies. I kind of fell into Aurora hunting, thinking I was just going to connect a few photographers, and I got run over by the traffic. And they're all saying, give us more. And so I've had to go down the rabbit hole and give them more. I am in Traverse City, Michigan, but planning on traveling all over the U.S. The goal is this summer to do classes enough that we can get into a motorhome and we could start doing travel videos specifically for dark sky photography. Whether it's lightning, whether it's going for city lights, or whether it's auroras or astronomy, that's what that channel is going to be geared to going to. It's just been on hold up because I have a bad bum hip that's been repaired and it's still not behaving. Can't just wave the magic wand.
Sorry. Welcome, T-Han 141. Thanks for coming in.
I love the name Thorhaven. I just recently found out I had more Viking heritage than I thought.
Yeah, Thorhaven's up in Canada, I believe.
Yes.
Ooh, Canada's good. That's where the old ones live.
Yeah.
No, I get excited when you say Canada because I want to go up and be with some of the old ones.
He's somewhere in the Quebec province, I believe, which is a big area, but very interesting. I love it up there.
Well, I don't think we could still cross over there freely, last I knew.
You have to get something before you can. The borders are open, but you do have to be.
Yeah, and since I can't do vaccinations, I can't go.
Yeah, we're not going to say that word, thank you.
Yeah.
I don't believe in the government nonsense.
It does.
Yeah, they get rather upset when you start mentioning certain things. So we dance around it. We use different words, code words.
Yeah, we discussed some things we couldn't talk about, but I didn't think that would come up in the conversation, so I didn't. So I'm just gonna redirect.
Well, by the look of it, he said he's way up there. You have auroras. We did have an aurora storm last night. We had an M class near X class flare. I don't foresee it directly hitting Earth. Nothing I've seen in my feeds are saying we're going to take a direct hit. It kind of shot upwards and back. So it's kind of going above us and out to the incoming limb, and it's going to skim us maybe.
Yeah, on the spreader, we may get hit by the little pinky here.
Yeah, that's a good analogy. We might just get a brush from it, But as this should be Earth facing in the next couple of hours, and it very likely can hit us. Let me jog over here real quick.
Well, while you're jogging, I want to throw out some information that I got from Ben. Well, everyone got it and watched it. Over the last couple of weeks, we've had several X class and several M class. It was funny in the 1-2 day period, there was an X class that went blip, and then there were 2 M classes that went blip, blip, and there was more material from the M classes that came at us than from the X class, because the X class was just a blip, and the other ones was a long duration, so it was a throwing crap out.
Yeah, it's kind of like I sneezed and I had that monster burp.
Yeah.
And the monster burps are always going to give you more. There's another thing that I think was playing into that. I don't remember. I think we were getting a coronal hole at the time, or we had a small coronal hole behind it. And that's when you get, if you get a coronal hole that has a fast wind coming in behind a CME or an ejection, it acts like a shovel scooping snow. So it'll come in and scoop everything and pile it up on the shovel, and it'll hit Earth all at one time. And we call those scoop shovel events. And I think that was one of those, was a scoop shovel event, because we had a fast solar wind behind it.
Hi, fishes. Welcome. Thorhaven, I'm on the Peggy is on the 45th parallel, and you're above her, I believe. So
yeah, I live.
Just a minute. Let me finish. He says we're actually still too far south to see the northern lights. They're about an hour north of Quebec City. But you are above us. You could see them. They're just not going to have the color unless you view them through your camera lens.
Yes. Okay. That brings up one thing we're going to talk about. And I just real quick, after the M class, we've only had one C class flare that just happened a couple hours ago. It's kind of quieting an activity, but I've seen it do this. It quiets down and it kind of gathers energy like it's taking a deep breath, and it'll blow again. I think it will blow again. And I think it'll be Earth facing when it does, but we'll have to see.
If somebody wants to know when is a good time to go out and try to take pictures of the auroras, what do you tell them to look for?
Okay. First of all, depending on where you live. If you live up by me along the 45th parallel, or anywhere from Minnesota to Maine. Now, Minnesota to Maine, we say 45th parallel, and we add 10. So it's like being at the 50th parallel, because there's some funny warping right there because we're closer to the magnetic North Pole. So we get to see more down here. I have seen there's been auroras that hit down into Indiana. You know, so it's not.
Yeah. Now, the one time I saw them with my naked eye, they were white, and they just looked like big white columns. I was out on the lake. I was actually outside of Tappanabee, Sheboygan, Michigan, and which is just a little bit south, about not very far south of the Mackinac Bridge.
I'm sorry about the dogs.
And I was out there, and I could see them with my naked eye. They were gorgeous, but they were absolutely just pure white, and the big white columns. If I'd had a camera, then I could have taken and seen them with more color. I could have brought the color back out, right?
Okay. The explanation for that one is your eyes. Your eyes are made of cones and rods. Your cones see during the day, and they see bright colors. Your rods see at night, but they see in black and white. So when you get dim light, like the auroras, they don't have color to them. So it's an eye thing. When you have a camera, it can hold its shutter speed open to collect more light, and it also sees in full spectrum. So it sees all the different colors of light out there, and it can add more color to it. Now, my guide is this. Depending on where you live, where I live, I can see a KP34 all the time, every time. As long as I don't have a lot of humidity, I'll see it. KP5, you start to see a funny white cloud, and you watch it. if it has an arch to it, so if it's like a rainbow shape, or it's moving and it's walking, we call the pillars walking.
Mm-hmm.
Those are the auroras, and they'll be very low on the horizon in Michigan, a little higher on the horizon in Canada. We have, and then when you get to KP7, that's where you start to see, I can, depending on your eyesight, I have extraordinary night vision, so I see more color because I protect my eyes during the day and I don't go out much. So I can see the faint green and I can see the faint pink, but it's very milky and it's very not much. Then when
if they want to know, like, when's a good forecast, where do they go for a forecast on how
you go to North American Dark Skies, either on Facebook or YouTube. If there's going to be something, there'll be a forecast there.
And you update that whenever there's something that's going to be coming through.
Yes. If I'm quiet, then it's not going to hit Earth, and don't worry about it. If I'm talking, then there's a potential there that it could hit Earth. And I am one of the few people that talk about weather, and we talk about smoke plumes and interesting facts like that. So I make sure people know if they're going to see them in certain areas.
Okay.
So, depending on where I'm at on the given day, it may be a written forecast on Facebook, or it may be a video forecast if I have the time on YouTube.
Okay. So make sure that they sign up for both, so that
sign up for both, so you're getting
want to catch. If you want to catch them and you want to know the best time to go out and take the photographs, then you also give tips on night photography.
Yes, I do. And I also do classes. So if anybody in any of the areas wants me to come do an Aurora class in your area, we need to plan a place to hold it. You need to contact me on Facebook, and we could set up arrangements.
And how big a place would that be for those?
I try and keep it under 30 because if we do an outside workshop, it's extensive for me to handle 30 people going, help me.
Right. Fishes and Loaves says, well, if that was a sneeze and a burp, if the sun farts, are we dead?
Well, yeah, maybe. That's called a micronova. And yeah, if the sun farts, we might really be in trouble.
Okay.
Now, Suspicious Observer covered this, and I was going to talk about this because it was kind of interesting. I was last year or the year before. He covered a document that our government did and declassified, and it was talking about how we might have a 200-foot wave as the Earth rolls sideways. And I went, wow, that's really fantastical. So I got on the horn and I called my friend in Alaska, who is an Aleutian medicine man, one of the last traditional Aleutian medicine men. I says, is this real? And he went, yep. Alaska used to be by the equator. Alaska used to be a much warmer climate. And yes, the Earth can roll on its side and flip back and snap back. It has happened. And actually, it has happened in the degree, I think, of 4 or 6 inches when we've had earthquakes. Mm-hmm. And he probably just found the link for the video I was referring to.
That's just his main channel.
Well, yeah, you've got to look for it. It's a year or so back, but it was a really interesting thing. And I would like to find the whole article or the whole paper that they declassified, because I'd like to read it all. Mm-hmm. Because it had some really fantastical things in it. And I'm going, huh.
Does anybody have any other questions for Peggy?
I could tell you what you want with the camera. I can recommend some good cameras. Okay, Thor.
Yeah, I saw it. I was going to make a comment on that one.
I have a few of those too. Anyway, cameras you might want to look at that are within price range of under $1,000 right now. The Canon 6D or 62 are really good cameras. If you can put that up on the posts. Nikon, a 610, a 750, or an 810 are all really, really good full frame cameras. I love the Nikon AR7 II or 3 are good. And if you have a full frame camera and you're looking to upgrade, Sony, you can buy an adapter. Hang on a minute. Please close my door, Joe. The door. Dog opened my door. Sony has an adapter you can buy for Nikon or camera mount that you can use your other lenses on the Sony AR7 R2 and 3s. And it makes them more versatile. They're very lightweight and they're amazing little cameras. So those are the cameras I would recommend looking at if you want to get into this type of photography.
I'm going to check I'm going to be out for just a second. Keep talking for a second. Okay. I got to check my battery
now, life. We normally see the green and the blue, or the purple and the pinks and the oranges and the yellows. We rarely see the reds and the blues. And that's because the hydrogen or the nitrogen and the oxygen has to be at a very high level in the atmosphere. And that high level in the atmosphere has to be electrically charged to create light protons. And that's where the red and blue angles come from. They normally come with our superstorms. And frequently, almost every Carrington class event has had red auroras. And I've seen red a few times here. And I have gotten blues a couple of 3 times. In fact, one time I had been so sick with the flu all day and my alarm went off at 3 a.m. and it was a fantastic storm. And I'm going, and I crawled out to the car and I drove down to the bay, sat shivering in my car with the camera hung out the window taking pictures, and I got blue auroras. I'm hardcore. Or I'm normally hardcore until this hip held me back.
You'll be back. You'll be back soon.
As soon as we find out that nerve damage, we'll be good to go. If we can figure out what that is and get it fixed so my foot will behave.
Yep. So, any other questions out there? I know it's a lot to take in.
Yes, if we get a supernova, it's very likely that most of humanity will be gone. There is a book on, you might want to check out, and you'll probably want to look this one up on Reddit. It's called Magnetic Reversals and Evolutionary Leaps. And I've gotten about 2 chapters in because I fall down the rabbit hole and I have to investigate everything and figure out what it all means. And I have to go read the different studies that are listed, and takes me a while to read it. It's really good stuff. But it talks about what happens kind of when we're having this magnetic reversal on Earth and what is going to happen to us as that happens. And right now, with our magnetic shields as weak as they are, it's not going to take much of a solar storm to really affect us. It's going to kick our butts if we get a big one. So let's just keep praying. We're 9 days past it.
Right now there's one of the largest sunspot groupings, and today it's Earth facing. 3 days ago, it kicked off a big X class away from the Earth.
It was like a shoo moment.
Yeah. Ben and his group are just they're watching it intently because now it's aimed at us, and so for the next couple of days it'll be going away from us. So
my eyes are actually on the one behind it, 2995. I got a feeling that
singular one just a little bit south of it and to the west of it. Yeah.
That one's not done developing yet. It's still in its infant stage.
Yeah.
Yeah. Fisher, she was talking about the biological effects that these have on people earlier. You'll have to go back and watch the earlier part because she explained some of the effects that these have on people.
Yeah. And with our magnetic shields as weak as our magnetosphere as weak as it is right now, we're getting more solar particles that pass straight through, and we're getting more cosmic particles. Now, an interesting fact is Earth probably didn't have water to begin with. You want to know where it came from? It came from another star that exploded, and the cosmic particles brought water to Earth.
Fish has asked a good question. What will it take for the sun to actually cause an EMP? You discussed earlier the ones that had actually happened in history and the dates and their effects, but just for a base level, what would it cost? What level?
A CME at a C isn't going to bother us too much. An M class might have a few effects, but when you start hitting those X classes and you start going above a 17, that's when you want to worry.
And the duration. Duration has a big part of it as well.
If it's a long explosion, also the other thing you want to worry about is there a coronal hole by it? If there's a coronal hole underneath it, in front of it, right beside it, and it's also putting out a fast solar wind, it's going to amplify everything. And I'm going to tell you, the KP scale is basically, it is a collection of data points from around the globe, readings that they took, and they formulated them all together, and they come out with an average mean of what is magnetically out there, and that's your KP levels. Now, if you're looking at sheer KP level, 7 won't hurt you. 8 is getting a little questionable. When you start getting a KP9, you're getting a big storm. Does that? And
Yes.
it just depends. I mean, some of these they predict are going to be, oh wow, they're going to be so big, and they completely fizzle out because they have the wrong polarity erupting out of the sun, and the Earth repels it.
Yeah.
So we have it. The sun is a bar magnet, Earth is a bar magnet, and they both send out charged. The sun is sending out charged particle. So if we're if we're negatively charged on Earth, and it sends a negative charged particle, it's going to push us away. It's not going to give us the auroras we think. Now, the other thing to remember is the initial the initial storm hitting on the front side. So this is Earth. The official bow strike comes and hits Earth, and it wraps around Earth. Behind it streams out a tail on the other side. And when it gets out so far, that tail is going to snap. And it's going to snap outwards. And part of it's going to reconnect. And it's going to send all the energy back down those magnetic field lines into our northern poles. And those are often bigger than the initial storm. And that's, you could charge just on one reconnection event, you could charge the entire US for 4 days. There's that much energy traveling down those storms.
If we had a way to harness it.
Well, they're working on that. They are working on that. That's what the MS satellites are about. They're 2 great big disk satellites with great big arms, and they're out there studying that magnetic reconnection right now and trying to figure out how we can use that. Which is kind of interesting thing. You could think about powering the Earth off one storm for days.
Well, the magnet in your car starter is this big around.
All right. Carol asked a question. Are we close to one of those now?
I'm going to say you need to go to North American dark skies and keep an eye on things, because we have 3 major sunspots rotating into view right now that are capable of hitting Earth and are 85% capable of producing a C-class storm, and at least 60% chance that they can produce a bigger storm. So yes, we are in the strike zone. We are in the danger zone right now. It's just going to depend on what the magnetic field lines between Earth and Sun do, whether it amps it up or quiets it down.
It's like a couple of weeks ago, Ben was saying, all right, this one could do something. It can do something. It can, oh, good. It's not doing anything. And it went right on by. You know, it was a decent, yeah, it didn't do anything, but it was little things. He was waiting for a big one to come off and never did.
I think it was July 2017. We had a massive one. And it was 9 days. If it had been 9 days sooner, we would have bought it.
Yeah.
You think of that, 9 days. It ripped off the backside, hit Mars, took part of Mars away, and it was just dynamic. They called it a kill shot. And we were all going, phew. We have power. We have creature comfort. Oh. But yeah, we are close to having a solar storm. If these solar storms kick off, how big it's going to be, I don't know. It's going to depend on what these are doing. Give me a second. Let me scoot over here. Oh, we have development on 2291. 2291 is rapidly developing. It's on the southern hemisphere, off on the incoming limb. It is increased in size, and the polarities are getting close to wrapping around each other. 2293, we do have an area of close magnetic connection at the top end of it. It's at it's back up to a 95% chance of a C, 60% chance of a M, and a 20% chance of an X. It has been the one that has produced an M class 9, which is nearly an X class, a C3, and a C7. Now, up above that is 2294. It is 85% chance of a C, 50% chance of an M, and only 15% of an X.
Okay.
And then 2295, the one I've been watching, the one I'm saying I want to watch, it's up by 20 spots. It's now at 25% chance of a C.
All right, Peggy, the website you're looking at, can anybody log on to that one?
Yes, it's spaceweatherlive.com. And you want to go to the sunspot part of it.
All right. If you can highlight the URL and put it into the private chat. Okay. And then I can grab it from the private chat and I can throw it into the actual side chat. You're muted. You're muted, Tammy.
There, you should have it.
Yeah, I see it. Grab that.
Oh, now we've got another one. Super fast developer. 2996. It's right behind 93, still on the incoming limb. It's developed overnight out of nowhere. And it's at a 15% chance of a C, 5% chance of an M, and it is up 50 spots and growing fast. That's the one. The ones trailing are the ones to watch because they're the ones that are going to do the damage.
Okay. Tammy, if I share something, can you put it up? Nope. Okay. Ah, wait a minute. I can share it in a different way. Hang on. No one gets sick when I move.
I don't think I can.
All right. Hang on a second here. Wait a minute. You should be able to. Hang on. Let me try something. Let me try something first here.
Okay.
Share screen. Okay, you might be able to see it down below there where, and click on the new one there I put up. No, you took yourself out. She hit the wrong button. Now wait for her to bring herself back in. All right. Well, she's trying to do that. I'm just going to move my camera over. Okay. Here she comes back. Yeah, hit the wrong button. So the one down there has the little gold circle on it down below where our pictures are. If you click on that one, there we go.
Okay. Now, I can't scroll down. You're going to have to scroll down for me.
All right. Tell me when to stop.
Keep going. Okay, this one has to redevelop back overnight. And you see this blue and the red and how close they're coming together. When those become really close together, one is I think the blue is the positive, the red is the negative. And when they get really close together, those loops will twist and they'll snap off and fly at Earth. And that's what causes a filament.
And there's the current, says current ratings there.
Yeah, and that is developing, and it's down along the southern part of the sun. And the income, it's Earth facing right now. Now keep going down. This is 2293 is at the bottom. 2294 is at the top. 2293 is the producer here. 2294 has kind of been really quiet. It hasn't been doing much. But as closely as that red is to the blue, it could at any time.
Yeah.
Now keep going down.
And that had the 95 percentages there on the, well, it's a 20% on an X class now.
Yeah, they're big. We've got a good chance of getting some if they're aimed at Earth.
Yeah.
But the one that happened last night went upwards, not down or outwards.
Yeah.
Shoo.
There's another one.
Well, it was under an X class, so we'd be fine. This is what I'm watching. Last night, these were not developed. They had a little half blue circle that was really light. There wasn't much red. That back spot didn't exist last night. This one is blossoming. This is the one to watch because she's going to be the monster.
And this one's so if you look at it, it's off to the left on the
it's on the incoming limb. So it's going to be 3 or 4 days, at least 2 or 3 days before it's Earth facing. As fast as that is developing, I'm going to say it has a chance of erupting right at Earth.
So the link I put in there, if you guys want to go, you right click on it, open in a new tab, and you can save it to your favorites so you can look at this. So this stuff changes every day. So you can.
It can change by the hour.
By the hour, okay.
Yeah, so, it changes. They're doing these forecasts every 5 minutes because there's so much that they need to watch. They need to watch the GPS connections. They need to watch the airplanes. They need to be able to shut down what they can of the power grids if something big happens. So these are constantly being updated in 5-minute increments all day long, except for when we have a big one. Then it's going to take 2 or 3 hours for them to figure it out because they have so much data that they have to go through. And some of these big storms cause interference, and it's like standing in the middle of a snowstorm.
We're at our 3-minute mark, so you got about 3 more minutes. Anything you want to say in the next?
Well, I would say put up the link to North American Dark Skies Facebook page.
We have.
And just everybody follow us. We've got lots of things planned. We want to do a magazine. We want to do travel videos. We want to teach classes, and we want to make this grow. And I plan to flip it into a nonprofit so that it goes long after me. But we got to get money coming in so I can do that because I'm not made of money.
All right. Well, you stay on here. I'm going to go ahead and open it up. Does anybody have any more questions before we close the stream down? Peggy, stay on after I close the stream, and I'll tell you how this works. So this is your first one. I just want to make sure you don't. I always X'd out. I didn't know you could talk after the stream for a minute. So stay on. Anybody have any more questions? If they don't, I'm going to go ahead and end the stream.
Just a minute. Just so you know, I will be forecasting. I'm going to be watching these spots day and night, and we will be getting video forecasts out. I've been catching them just as they go, so I'm getting things out as quickly as I can, so keep following the channel. Ben only does a forecast once a day. I don't. If something flares off and I think it's important, I get it out there.
Okay. All right. Thank you, everybody, for coming in. I hope you guys found this interesting. I really enjoy it. I enjoy the Aurora photography. I think that's pretty cool. So go ahead, Gil.
For those that are interested, in a couple minutes, Broussard's go live tonight.
Oh, yes.
Broussard Homestead.
Yes. Yep. So, do you want to put their link in, Gil? Do you have it?
Give me a second. I'll have it here.
All right. I'll wait for you.
YouTube. Come on, YouTube. Let's go. Start. There it is. Bingo. Boom. All right,
If you go over there, tell them Gil and I sent you.
Yeah, this is the link to the Bassards. They're going live in. Okay, it's already got. They're just waiting on the Bassards to click in and go in. So it's a matter of seconds here.
Fishes. I teach people how to can over open fires, pressure can and water bath over open fires all the time. You do not need electricity to can food safely. You just need to know how to manage a campfire, and I will teach you that.
Maccabeus just did a video today on canning over an open fire.
I can. When I go camping, I always can. I take my canners with me. A lot of times I'm foraging when I camp, so I take my canners. I have made the best choke cherry jelly and the best crab apple jelly right at the campfire. Doesn't take much. And I love to make applesauce at the campfire in the fall. It tastes better. It has a nice little, kind of a little smoky taste sometimes if you use good wood. That's the other
Tastes
secret.
better if you do it over apple wood.
Tastes better.
That's what I was thinking.
Apple. Everything tastes better. Apple and hickory. Just saying.
With a little bacon fat thrown in that fire.
I got to turn my car on. Sorry for the noise. Battery just gave me a warning. All right, everyone. Good night. Stay here, Peggy, Gil. See you all in the chat later. Thank you all for coming. Bye-bye.